story now that certainly everybody's going to be glued to and watching very, very closely, and that is the return of Oscar Pistorius to court. And this, of course, is for his resentencing hearing in the Pretoria High Court. He returned to court yesterday following the Supreme Court of Appeal's decision to overturn his culpable homicide conviction and replace it with one of murder. The defence's first witness, psychologist Jonathan Scholtz, testified that Pistorius was a rehabilitated man and not a danger to society. Chriselda Lewis is there. She's reporting on the story. Chriselda, a very good morning to you. Now, I believe that what's going to happen today is there's actually going to be a representative from a charity that's going to be taking to the stand. One can imagine the picture that they're going to paint of a man who only does good. I can imagine that's the angle.
Well, that's exactly it, Leanne, and the continued strategy, I guess, on the part of the defence to try and paint Oscar Pistorius as a man who's really done good in society, not just in South Africa, but in various parts of the world. We're expecting that a charity worker really to talk about what Oscar Pistorius, the continued role he can continue to play in giving back to various people. You'd know, of course, that over the years, when Oscar Pistorius had been at the height of his career, he'd really contributed to a number of charities. One that we saw brought up in court yesterday as well is that Oscar Pistorius would want to continue with the work that he's done in Mozambique with victims of landmines. Of course, we saw that testimony come through Professor Jonathan Scholtz, who was the psychologist who had examined Oscar Pistorius when he was sent to the Vescopy psychiatric facility. So we're expecting quite a lot of that. You must recall as well that Oscar Pistorius has really been involved with children as well. We're expecting a lot of spotlight to be placed on that as well. You'd also know that he's received an honorary degree from the university in Scotland as well for some of the work that he's done. So really the spotlight to be put on this man who not only rose to international fame, but someone who didn't just care about himself and cared about other people as well, in particular when it came to children, victims of landmines and those who may have lost their legs in the war in Mozambique. Oscar Pistorius was always upfront to try and help some of those children. So a lot of the testimony we're expecting with regard to that, because remember, the defense would want to indicate that while this tragic accident may have happened, as they say, back in 2013, Oscar Pistorius is now a rehabilitated man. He wants to continue and go back to the work that he's been doing. He should be. He should not return to jail. And as the Professor Jonathan Scholtz put it yesterday, his level of depression, his level of anxiety would not be in his interest or in anybody's interest for him to be reincarcerated, and instead he should be hospitalized. And that Oscar Pistorius still has quite a lot of good in him, and he can certainly transfer that to the many charities that he supported over the years.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell right now, but, just from watching the defense, Gerrie Nel, coming in and basically saying, not the defense, but for the state, Gerrie Nel, coming in with guns blazing, literally just trying to dispute everything that's said about him and painting a very, very different picture of the Oscar Pistorius that the defense is trying to portray. So this is not going to be as easy as I imagine that they're hoping it will be when it comes to handing down that 15-year sentence.
Well, certainly it's not going to be an easy task, because very importantly, what the court needs to take into account in this matter, Leanne, is the interest of society. So whatever verdict is reached in this particular case, you're almost going to need to satisfy almost everybody and really restore confidence, not only of South Africans, but people around the world when it comes to the way that the justice system in South Africa operates. So absolutely it is the job of the defense to paint a picture of a man who was rehabilitated, who made a grave mistake, someone that wants this court to look at all the good that Oscar Pistorius has done. But don't forget, the state itself would want to highlight that this is someone, as we saw in court yesterday, when the state prosecutor Gerrie Nel tore into the testimony of the professor, indicating that, bringing up incidents while Oscar Pistorius was in incarceration, that Oscar Pistorius had violent outbursts and banged his hand on the table when he was speaking to some of the prison officials. So what the state will then try to do is to show that despite the numerous courses for anger that Oscar Pistorius had undergone while he was in prison, and of course many other courses, rehabilitation courses, Oscar Pistorius is not a changed man according to them. So it's not going to be an easy task. It'll be very important to see also what we're really watching for once the defense wraps up its pre-sentencing arguments is who exactly the state will call. What the key want to focus on is perhaps to bring that family member or Reeva Steenkamp's friend to testify on the impact. That's going to be absolutely powerful and something certainly that this court cannot ignore.
Chriselda, how long would something like this go on for? I mean, has there been a time limit been given to the sentencing hearing?
Oh yes, we're expecting to wrap up by the end of this week, Leanne. It had been set down from Monday to Friday, but of course there's that public holiday. We're yet to hear from the courts. Usually courts don't sit on a public holiday, but we're yet to see how proceedings continue today, if they'd be able to get through the first witness, and of course there'll be a cross-examination of that representative from a charity organization. But it was set down until Friday, and then possibilities are that perhaps Oscar Pistorius could begin serving his sentence for murder as early as next week, and of course return to the Kgosi Mampuru prison where we saw him serve that just a day under a year, and certainly that's the indication that we have from the court at this point. It's not expected at all to drag on. We know that the availability, for example, of Judge Thokozile Masipa has also been placed in terms of Monday to Friday, so we're really expecting it to wrap up then.
All right, Chriselda Lewis, let's leave it there for this morning. Thanks so much for filling us in on what to expect today during the Oscar Pistorius trial. So, as you heard, it should be wrapped up by Friday, and then that verdict handed down once again next week. So, we'll wait on that.